Welcome to Holistic Health and Healing, a show offering solutions for the body, being, and beyond. In each episode, we discuss topics that empower you to take a holistic approach to step into your unique voice in this world. Now, here are your hosts, Dr. K and Hank Setala, the Sonic Shaman.
Good morning, everyone. We don't have to introduce ourselves anymore with the new video. How cool is that? and today's topic is all about clearing the body of toxins. I would say clearing the body and the being of toxins. And I know we have a little bit of an audio echo. We're going to try to mitigate that with our mute buttons a little bit. We just had all kinds of weird tech issues today. It's quite strange. But anyway, we worked through that, and we're here to talk about detoxing. And part of the reason is I'm on my day 23 of a detox. Two more of my friends are starting the same detox that I'm doing. Casey was doing a detox. There's this energy around it. So we just wanted to really talk about that. We talked about being weightless last week, and this is a great follow-up to that because it's really the toxins in the body that create so much chaos for us.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. So sorry about the echo, guys. We're just going to roll with it today. So Hank will probably talk a little bit about his end. I'll talk some about medical stuff, but really detoxing is something that I love. That's kind of like my niche. And I really talk a lot about detoxing because I think it's so important. But a common and really highly effective way and a solution to bring you back to your optimum health is really detoxing, because we have so much toxicities in our body. Now, when we talk about detoxing, it's a broad. This is a huge topic. We could probably even do a part 2, because there's just so much that goes on into this. But when we talk about detoxing, people are like, well, what does that mean? I don't eat, or I get rid of things, or I do some sort of machine, or there's all of the above, but there's more. It's really looking at the diet, detoxing, and taking things out of the diet that are complicating your system. And we'll talk about that. That's number 1. Number 2, supplementing with certain supplements that help drain your liver. We'll talk about the 4 main detoxing organs in the body. And number 3, your environment. What are you breathing in? Are you around paint? Are you around chemicals? Is there mold in your home? Gosh, that's a whole environment. Mattresses, your flooring, your carpeting. There's so many things in your environment that can be problematic. Looking at your stress level, detoxing from your stress level, because stress creates so many problems in the body. So stress levels, looking at your daily habits. What do you do on a daily basis? This is everything from the moment you wake up in the morning, what you drink, what you brush your teeth with, the deodorant you put on. I mean, there's so many details. Looking at your emotional health. Again, we talked about emotions and how those play a role in your life. And then looking at your spiritual outlook. These are all the components. I can't talk today. It's Friday. These are all the components of detoxing. And so I have a little checklist that I'll go through at some point here. And it's a little lengthy, so we'll have to read through because it's a long one. But we'll look at some symptoms that can be indicative starters of the fact that you may be headed towards a chronic condition, or that there's toxicity going on in your body. Your body is so intricate and it's so complicated and it's so miraculous, because if you just take biochemistry courses, you're blown away with those big words that Hank likes so much. He's like, what is that?
Yeah, we need a glossary to go along with Dr. K when she talks.
Hey, I didn't make that up. I always thought of who the hell makes these words up, these beta-glucuronidase? Who makes these terms up? Why can't they make it simpler? Something like Smith or something easy. But somewhere somebody made up all these terms that are crazy.
The good news, though, is even though that all these things are really long words and sound complicated, the things that you can do are really simple. And the checklist that Dr. K, the only thing that I would add to that, too, is all of us as being really aware is also just not taking in other people's stuff. As empaths, we have that huge issue. So there's this energetic toxicity component that goes along with it. And so if you can really go into a detox with all these things in mind and the energetic components and the spiritual components, you really get it's all about that holistic approach to really getting into that place of wholeness and well-being.
And the symptoms that start happening with overload of toxicity. And I will tell you guys right now, it's impossible for us to get rid of everything, but the more things that you have control over, obviously you don't have control over your neighbor's lawn with the pesticides that they put on, which is huge for the thyroid, really, really big issue. But those are, you can politely ask, but some people are not, or maybe not politely ask, your neighbor will look at you like you're crazy. But those things, we don't have control over that. We don't have control over the rain that comes down and pulls down toxins that are in the air. But the more things you have control over, like your emotional health, your stress health, your diet, the things that you brush your teeth with, the deodorants you use, the chemicals you use in your system, all those things you do have control over in your home. And that's what we'll talk a little bit about, because these symptoms that start developing, the checklist I'll go through, is often things that are not treated effectively by your traditional doctor. They'll view it as a symptom, as a condition. And these are actually indicative of, when we'll go through these symptoms, they're indicative of deterioration in the health, their initial stages. And these things, unfortunately, can lead to things like cancer. Cancer is huge with the toxicities. I'm sure you guys have heard that. But deterioration into other chronic conditions such as cancers and all these other things that go on. And they don't happen overnight. It happens due to accumulation of poor diet, environment, stress, daily habits, all these things combine, and the body starts going, okay, too much, and something goes sideways. And we'll talk more about that.
And one example of that, if you go back in our, when we first started doing live streams, there was this one time where Dr. K, and I've mentioned this before, she has this quantum biofeedback machine, and she was doing a demonstration online. She was picking up all these pesticides, and I don't really have a lot of that in my current environment, but I used to work at a hardware store, and I remember actually getting sick when I had to clean that one aisle. So that's that many years ago, and there's still signs of it in the body. So that's where it's really like one of those things that you really have to stay the course and go through the process to get rid of all that, because there could be layers of stuff that needs to be kind of whittled down to get to the original things that you might have started storing years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And so these things accumulate in your fat cells, your adipocytes. So toxicity gets stuck in there.
Adipocytes. Look at these crazy words.
Do you like that word?
I don't know if I like that word.
So these things get stuck in areas of your body, and then when they accumulate more and more and more and more, the body finally goes, okay, too much, because your body can detoxify on its own if it has the right circumstances. And so these things can add to weight gain, they can cause inflammation in the gut and things like that. And I'm going to add a little side note, because I was kind of last night into this morning, I was looking into a study that just came out, just taking it back to COVID for 2 minutes here. But there was a study that they're talking about now that 575,000 COVID hospitalizations were preventable simply through diet and exercise. 2/3 of the hospitalizations for COVID were patients that had obesity, which is a big one now. They're talking about obesity, had diabetes, high blood pressure, heart failure. And this is what a study that was studied found. And so now, guys, is the time that if you don't grab a hold of your health right now, and Dr. Fauci says there's more viruses coming, so now is the time to get a hold of your health and start making the changes and start doing the things to clean your body up, because as we move forth in society, things will accumulate more. We have things now that we didn't have 30, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Each time we get more stuff. And so Now is the time to really get a hold of your health. If you have high blood pressure, if you're a little overweight or a lot overweight, now is the time to really get started and do some good work on that. So that's just my tidbit on that, because these things are reversible.
Yeah. And Mary, well, there's a couple of people saying good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. And I did put a link in the comments for the YouTube channel. That's the best place to watch and comment so that we get a little bit more momentum on that side of it. And let me mute Dr. K to get rid of the echo for just a second. Sorry about that this morning. It's just like a weird tech day. I don't know. But Mary said, it makes sense that the machine picks up the old encounters with things, memory imprints, like how the body remembers how to fight a virus or a sickness. Absolutely.
Yeah, it does. And I test this. I'm such a scientist, because to me, it's like, oh, great, this is a machine. And so and I wish I could share screen, but I would need one of my ports to hook it up so that I could show you a screen of what it picks up. It'll pick up different toxicities, but in more general terms. So it'll say like beauty shop toxins, and people are like, well, I don't work in a beauty shop and I don't hang out in a beauty shop. When it says beauty shop toxins, I'm like, okay, let's get an environmental toxin test where it dives deeper and picks up 30 to 40 items, and things like phthalates come up. So that's, I can never, PHTLYTAES, I think. But phthalates are found in nail polish. They're found in hairsprays. They're found in different lotions. They're found in various beauty products. They're found in plasticizers, so anything that has plastics in it, like bottles, paints. It's found in so many different places. So I'm like, it doesn't mean that you're in a beauty shop. It means that there's things you're using that are accumulating in your system. Another one is sodium lauryl sulfate. If you guys look up sodium lauryl, it's Laurel. I'm trying to sulfates. That's one of the most toxic things to the liver, and it is in everything. I'm starting to read labels in the back. So if you're picking up ingredients like your shampoos or lotions or hairsprays, if there's a big paragraph of stuff and you don't know what the hell that is, it's got a lot of stuff in it. So that's another place I tell people, chemicals, let's wipe some of those things out. So sodium lauryl sulfate is a big one, very toxic for the liver.
Just a question for you too on this, because I know that like with those food colorings that are like known carcinogens and everything, they start coming up with like clever names. So instead of like yellow 5, they call it something else. But then when you Google that, you find out that it's really yellow 5. So they've had this tendency to start reclassifying these ingredients that people are avoiding under different names so they don't recognize them. Is there any resource? And now I'm putting you on the spot. I should have asked. I didn't know I was going to ask this question. But is there a resource where like other known names of these things, because how manufacturers kind of getting tricky with hiding it?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a great resource. I Google everything, and that you'll get the answer right there. It'll pop up as a little snippet, like such and such is a compound of blah blah, and it'll give you a little biochemistry. It is a known carcinogen, or it is a known blah blah, and it's very short. I've been Googling. That's just kind of a quick. There is an app, and let's see if I have it, but I haven't found that it. Maybe for me it hasn't worked. It's called Think Dirty. It's a terrible name, but it's an app on your iPhone. It's kind of like it's called Think Dirty, and if you click it, let me say, I haven't used it in a while. I think the goal of it is you can scan an item, and it will tell you some of the ingredients and what's going on with it. Although for some reason it's not, unless they've stopped using it. But that's one app.
That's such a tease. You give us a name like that for an app, and then you say, sorry, can't use it.
But it's for some, here it is. It's starting to work now, but Shop Clean. So yeah, it has this little, I know it's hard for you guys to see, but it has this little barcode there. And so you scan, and it can tell you, scan the product and the barcode to see what's inside. It's really tough to see. Got it.
Well, I put it all on you so you can show again. Maybe they can see it better.
Okay. There's a glare.
That's all right.
Okay.
You guys get the idea.
So see the little, I don't know if it keeps doing that. Darn it.
This is a Tech Friday, I tell you.
It's a Tech Friday, and I got to point the other way. There's a little barcode, and if you click it on the Think Dirty app, you scan your item, the barcode on the back of your item, and it'll tell you whether it's, a clean product or not a clean product. I've used it on a handful of things, but sometimes it'll say like can't find product. So the goal of this app, it's called Think Dirty. That's just such a terrible name. But the goal of it is for you to be able to, they've compiled all this information. So like you mentioned, Hank, is there a place you can go? This is kind of what they've tried to do with this app. So you can scan the item and it'll tell you, yeah, this is a good product, not a good product, has carcinogens in it. But I've scanned a couple, 3 or 4 things, and it'll say like can't find products. So I don't know that they have all the products in there, but you can give it a whirl.
That can be especially hard with like private label brands, because it might be made by a manufacturer. Like Trader Joe's, 80% of their product or more are all private label.
Yeah. So I say read your labels, and I'd say if there's a big paragraph and a lot of the terms you're like, I have no idea what these are, and they sound really long and really biochemical, maybe not the best product. That's an easy way to differentiate. If it'll say like honey beeswax or guar gum, or there's a few little things, the less things there are, probably the least toxic there are. I can make a few recommendations on cleaning products. Method is a good company. Planet is a good company. Seventh Generation is a good company. those are ones you're going to want to replace in lieu of bleach, which is horrendous. I had a patient in my old practice when I was still doing a lot of podiatry that he was soaking his feet in bleach daily. And I don't know for how long. My assistant's always like, his feet smell like bleach. And I'm like, maybe. And finally, like somehow he brought it up. And I was like, how long have you been doing this? And I don't remember what he said. And here, 2 months down the road, he had lung cancer. So it's the things you breathe in. It's always the things you breathe in. So this is a little key piece, guys, to know. When you breathe things in, there is no transposition between your blood and your alveoli. So when you breathe something in, it goes right into your lungs and into the alveoli, and then it's merged with your blood right away. There's no filter. Whereas the other parts of your body, like your liver, filters everything. We have this little saying in our biofeedback community: if you have a hypothalamus and a sliver of a liver, we can change so much. But if your liver's gone, or if it's overloaded, which a lot of us have, very sluggish livers, we're gonna have to work. So we'll talk more about that. But.
And one thing too, when you think about toxicities, like this is something that happened with my aunt. My grandma used to always tell her, "Don't get your liver in a quiver," and she ended up with stage 4 liver cancer. So there's something to be said too about point of view and belief about how you're raised, where things might be stored, because everybody might store toxins differently based on just their unique history and their belief system and all that type of thing. If you read the book by Louise Hay, they're like, hate attacks could be heart attacks, cancer could be resentment, but you're developing them in different places because we end up storing the energy that's also around the toxins differently too, because there is an energetic piece to that and where it ends up being in the body.
Always. So I say, if you have a high level of stress, if you have a high level of resentment, this is tricky because it kind of goes back and forth. It's kind of like if you have a really angry, agitated person, is the liver causing that? Because if your liver is toxic, you can be more highly agitated, more anxious, more depressed. These sorts of things start to happen. If you have inflammation in your gut, if you have toxicities in your gut, if you have pathogens in your gut, if you have viruses in your gut, parasites, all these things can create more brain fog, can create more anxiety, which in turn can make you agitated, but it goes reverse too. If you're around a very stressful environment, you're kind of like, you feel it in your shoulders, you feel it in your joints, you feel tight all the time, or stressed or angry. So when you're happy, you feel expansive. You're like, you feel light, it feels good, you feel like you're going to go get the world. When you're tense, frustrated, angry, resentful, stress in your family, you live in that environment, your body takes on that energy and your organs start to respond. And so your body has to deal with that stress. So it's going to produce more catecholamines. And so then it's taking the attention off of the detox. And so then your liver is building up, and stuff just starts. So it's a, what would be the word? Interchangeable thing. They go back and forth. It's a catch-22 with both of those things. You have to take care of both of those things.
And we've had a couple of people say this morning too, just recommending also clean up your environment. Energetically, that's huge with like feng shui and things like that, having like a clean thing. And in other schools of metaphysics, each room in your house could represent a different department or aspect of your life. So like your office could be finances and so on. So like if you find yourself with a messy area, then look at that area of how it would reflect into a particular department of your life. And there might be some inner work and energy work to do there as well.
Yeah, we would love to have, if we got to find a feng shui person.
I know several. I just got to get them on.
Okay, that would be fun. That would be cleaning up your environment, clean up your whole life. Hey, it's spring, guys. It's a good time to detox and clean out your whole life, right?
Absolutely. And actually, Mary from the last TV boot camp I had her on the 12-hour stream, she does a bit of feng shui. That was one of her pillars. She had like 3 pillars. And if anybody's interested in that, it's on the Emergence of Being channel. There was like that big 12-hour stream, which good news, everyone. I'm going to be breaking that down into the individual talk segments and republishing them because my experience is nobody really wants to like just start watching something they see as 12 hours, So I'm going to be kind of breaking that down. But she had a little bit to say towards the end of our interview about feng shui and just like the opening, the entryway to your door, because that's where the energy flows in to the home and really has one of the biggest impacts on how you are affected by the energies outside and whatnot.
Yeah, definitely. So there's so much that goes, there's so many layers that go into this. I know very little bit about feng shui. I would love to learn more. What can I tell you? There are specific, Hank and I both do different types of house clearings, but I have an energetic clearing I do for the home. The device, my biofeedback actually cleans a home too, so I can actually bring the device into somebody's home and have it check for geopathic stress, have it check for different things and clean the home. It can clean out the geopathic stress for a couple of days, but if we have it there, we have to take care of it more long term. That's a topic we're going to touch on today too.
Okay, then I'll wait, because I was going to bring something up, but if it's coming up later.
Go ahead.
Well, no, there's a particular Egyptian technique where you have these measurements. You could do it in wood, but usually I use copper pipe because they don't degrade or anything, or they go much slower. And you cut them to certain lengths which match these measurements in the pyramid. They're called cubits. And you do them on the corners and you do them on the midpoints, and it changes the geopathic stress of the land. So energetically, there's just a complete shift in the energy of the land. And I've gone out and done that several times, and it sounds like it would be a really good complement to the device too, because one, we can confirm that there is something going on. Usually we can know intuitively, but it's good for people who don't necessarily believe in the intuitive part as much, to see something scientific and then be able to work with it from there.
Yeah, we'll talk really quick on geopathic stress, and if you want to Google, maybe we just need to do a segment on geopathic stress, because
yep. I'm going to actually write it down this time.
The parking lot. I'll put it on my parking lot too. But that's a whole topic we can discuss. Geopathic stress is a funny thing. They're doing some studies governmentally wise, but it's kind of like not really out there yet. But they've linked it. If you're in an area of geopathic stress, then you can have conditions start forming. Especially, they found cancer in people with this. If you're laying in an area where these geopathic stresses cross, and we'll talk more about geopathic stress and everything around it. But my device actually picks up the geopathic stress and what kind it is. So there's like Hartman cross. So these are water energy lines that cross like underneath people's homes. And so there's ways to do it. You can use there's little copper rods, but I think that doesn't tell you what kind. It just tells you that there's some sort of something going on. So you kind of walk with them straight. I find it's kind of
dowsing rods, right?
Yeah, dowsing rods, but I don't know if it's infallible or not, but it's kind of weird. I've bought them just for the heck of it. But my device actually tells you what's going on in the home. It'll say Hartman cross, Senzi cross, all these things, water, jewelry. It'll pick all that up. So we know that there's stress in the home. So how much.
You're trying to put us intuitives out of business. That's what you're doing. I'm kidding.
Hank's much more intuitive. He'll know if it's there. Just leave it on that.
I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to cut Dr. Calf with that, but because of the echo, I'm trying to use the mute button to minimize it a bit.
Yeah, so geopathic stress is one of those things. We'll briefly touch on that. We'll put that in the parking lot to talk about, because that's starting to become a big topic. But what else do you want to touch on, Hank? Because I have a list, a symptom checklist. Maybe that will be helpful for people.
Well, I think just really the energy component, like if you are picking up other people's things, it's name it, don't claim it. You want to be the hollow bone, energy always moving through you, not to you, but we are these energetic sponges of picking other people's hucha, we call it in shamanism, their heaviness. And where it really sinks in is just when you label it. If you have an awareness of somebody being angry, you're labeling it as angry. Like you kind of own that energy because you're comparing it to past data, and it anchors where for them it was potency and you weren't even labeling it correctly. But it's the act of labeling it and judging it that locks it into duality and gives us the issue. And the only other thing we already talked about food a little bit, but with the food, it's really important. Like just rinse everything, wash everything, buy organic if you can, like strawberries, apples, the dirty foods. They have a lot more pesticides on them and things that it's harder to clean because of the nature of the fruit. So like all that type of thing, it's really important. Get organic if you can, and still, give it a good wash and all that, just to minimize anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Buy organic. And I have the list and I always forget them.
And if not organic, at least no GMO if you can, because of the Roundup potentially, allegedly in them.
Yeah.
No, there's been studies. I can say that's in there.
There are. Yeah, for sure. There's a list of most heavily pesticided foods. I did a little Facebook live video. So if you want to go to my Facebook page, I'd say it's probably about 2 months ago. So just scroll through the videos and it'll say like buy organic. And I listed all the specific foods. Strawberries are high on the list. Spinach is really high on the list. I believe apples are on the list. Blueberries. Did I say that? Blueberries. what else? I'm trying to think of, there's like 12 of them that I listed that are high. I have the list, but I have to go grab it, of the ones that are decent and the ones that are very highly pesticided. Pay the extra, 50 cents, guys. I know people are like, well, it's more expensive. I know. Yeah. Kale too. Thanks, Mary. But spend the extra couple cents. Why accumulate all that stuff in your body? So with pesticides, they tend to like to lodge themselves in a few places, and the thyroid is one of those places. And DDT was used way back in 1975. They banned it since, but there's still residue of it running around. So I knew people that had, and I actually did an environmental toxin test on them. I ran a urine test, and DDT levels came up really high, and these people had thyroid issues. So this is how cysts start developing. And so you want to really, really just spend the extra couple cents and just get the organic. It's worth it for you in the long run. Yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
All right, in just 1 second, we're making our show a little bit more podcast friendly, so I'm just going to play a quick little audio thing so we break this up for them, and we will be, it's like 30 seconds, so just bear with us a moment. Great time to subscribe.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss an episode by clicking the subscribe button now. This show is made possible by listeners like you. Dr. K and Hank are part of the Emergence of Being Contributor Network. Visit emergenceofbeing.com to find all our content and learn about our services and upcoming events. Thank you for your support. Now, back to the show.
I'm going to have to get used to playing that. But anyhow.
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back, everyone. We'll get this smoothed out. It's like a new thing for us.
Okay, so what do we do? Oh, if we want to go through, would it be helpful, I guess, for anybody, for me to go through a bit of a toxicity symptom checklist?
I think so. Because I just talked to someone yesterday that had symptoms of something else, and you might not even associate something with a potential issue, right? Having a lot of headaches could be associated with candida or leaky gut.
Yeah, and Scott posted DDT is still in use now. It's called natural flavoring. Very possible. I have to state that it was banned technically, but I am a firm believer that they are still hiding it places, just like there's another one. It's just poof, it just went out of my head. It'll come back. It's used in the antiseptic agents and in like your Purells, and I tested somebody for it and it came up. It starts with the T, poof. Okay, it'll come back to me. Hopefully it'll come back to me by the end of the show. But it's also supposedly been banned, and I am not convinced that it's been banned. I still think it is in all the sterile little hand sanitizer things. It's not aspartame. I just did go to my Facebook page 3 days ago. I just did, or 2 visits ago, I just did a talk on aspartame and how bad that is on pop, on soda. So catch that one. But yeah, I'm trying to.
That's one thing I'm going to do.
I can't. Oh, anyway.
We got the streaming also hooked up to Dr. K's YouTube now. So all those Facebook videos in downtime, I'll pull them all. We'll get them on Dr. K's YouTube. And then all the content for all of the contributors is at emergenceofbeing.com. You can find Casey's show, my personal show. All the content is there in one place.
Triclosan. Yeah, I don't think that might be it might be a different spelling, but that's what it is. And I have a friend who in Portland Oregon, that he's big into integrative medicine, and he's an integrative medicine doctor. He goes, Adriana, that's been banned. I'm like, yeah. And I think they're still hiding it in places. I just don't believe it's completely gone, because when COVID hit and we had gone to a haunted house and I was putting the stuff on my hands. They were making you do that between all these little phases that you went through. And I'm like, this stuff stinks. It's disgusting. I'm like, I don't even know what's in this. And people are putting this over and over again. And it's like, I just think there's plenty of chemicals. And so we're just piling on more chemicals. So let's go through briefly go through the toxicity symptom checklist. So it's a bit lengthy, and I don't want anybody to freak out if you're having some of these symptoms. These are indicators that something is likely going on in the body. And take it with a grain of salt, because we all have some of these symptoms. It's not like, oh my gosh, I have headaches. If they're very chronic, like every other day, a couple times a week. Got to look, something's going on. Did you have a concussion? Do you have some anatomical issue going on? Or is it a toxicity issue? Or is it something else? So we'll go through these. So for the digestive system, you want to look for things like chronic. These are all chronic, meaning you're having these a couple times a week. If this happens, once a week, once every 3-4 weeks, don't worry about it. But if this is a chronic thing for you daily, we want to look at it. So digestive system, indigestion and heartburn, gas, meaning like burping or flatulence, bad breath, coated tongue. If you look at your tongue and it's coated white, body odor, constipation, diarrhea, bloating, nausea, abdominal pain, hemorrhoids, gallstones, which I don't know how many people would know that they do or don't have it, but irritable bowel syndrome, protruding abdomen, candida, and parasites. For the dermal system, that's your skin, you want to look for things like rashes, chronic. These are all chronic, meaning you're having a lot of this. Acne, hives, eczema, extremely dry skin, extremely oily skin, plugged pores, slowly healing wounds, dark circles under the eyes, or chronic puffiness under the eyes. For your immune system, if you have chronic allergies, chronic colds and flus, chronic fatigue, cancer. For the musculoskeletal system, if you have chronic sore joints, frequent headaches, frequent neck, back pain, aches and pains, fibromyalgia. For the lymphatic system, if you're noticing like swollen lymph nodes or sore lymph nodes. For your endocrine system, hypoglycemia, that means low blood sugar, or diabetes, which is high blood sugar, chronic food cravings, overweight or underweight, cellulite, excess sweating or night sweats, if you've had infertility issues. For the nervous system, if you have chronic insomnia, hyperactivity, like you're just always on edge, mental fog, dizziness, ADD, ADHD, attention deficit disorder. You guys know what that is. Urinary system, if you have chronic kidney stones, fluid retention, dark colored urine. For the respiratory system, if you have chronic coughing, chronic wheezing, chronic sinus infections, chronic sneezing, chronic shallow breathing, congestion in your chest. For the cardiovascular system, if you have high blood pressure, heart disease, high cholesterol. For the reproductive system, if you have like really bad PMS, fibroid tumors, fibrocystic breast disease, yeast infections, irregular periods, and psychological indications if you have chronic depression, chronic mood swings, anxiety, and irritability. So some of those are genetic. There are people that have things like hemochromatosis and conditions that they do get passed down genetically, but what got those genes activated? Because we all have cancer cells running around in their body. It's, do they get activated? What is the body dealing with that it can't control those cells? So I know that was a long list, but if you've experienced any one of those symptoms for a long period of time in consecutive order, we might want to talk.
Yeah, I think you scared people, Dr. K.
I'm sorry. I probably did, but again, if that's something that you're experiencing all the time.
Yep. And one thing to speak to that too is that when you have a lot of these things going on, we have a tendency to not want to look at things, and we start looking out the other way, and it just starts building up. And like how many, I think men are more guilty of it than women, but how often are they ending up in really bad shape before they're finally willing to go seek help or something like that, where women are a little bit more open, something's going on, they go right away. So like, don't wait. When you see symptoms and things like that, start doing your research. Even if you're not going to go see someone, start doing your research and seeing, well, what can I do? Like, I'm sure we're going to be offering some tips and things as we move forward with the topic, but don't wait when you see things. In pure awareness, you don't need to protect from anything, because you can choose differently and start to make changes.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that was a really long list, but again, if you go through a short bout of this, I'm not concerned. If this is just something that seems to be happening a lot, like I've gone through periods where I've had those kinds of symptoms, but I also changed a lot of my diet and these things went away. So I did it on my own. So there's a lot you can do on your own to start clearing things up. And if you're going through detoxing takes time. It's not an overnight process. It's not this, people like these, oh, I'm doing a 5-day detox. The body's accumulated a lot of stuff, and that you're probably not going to get a whole lot out in that time. It'll help some, but you want to take this slowly, especially if you're going through a stressful event in life, like a lot of job stress, or you're going through a divorce. You want to take it slow and start with something small. and just do it gradually, because people go through something called a healing crisis. So when I detox people, I have very specific agents that I use. They're little homeopathics, and they're very specific for environmental toxins, for synthetic chemicals, for halogens, for all those things that come up on my device. People sometimes go through what's called a healing crisis, meaning when we try to pull things out of the body too fast, the body doesn't feel good because it kind of doesn't know what to do. It's a little disoriented, and you're hitting it with these supplements that are draining everything. And if it can't get out, it gets stuck. So it's this whole, you definitely want to take detox slowly and the right way. And I know people want it right away, everything. We all want instant gratification, and it doesn't always work that way. Let's just take the time, do it right, and you will feel better in the end.
Yeah. And if anybody wants to check out, like last week, we did a whole topic on being weightless. Here's a little graphic for it. And it's also available in the archives or whatnot. But we had a talk there where people go on a diet and they lose this weight. The body doesn't detox, and one of the ways the body protects itself is it stores these toxins and things in fat cells. So then when you go back to even a semi-normal diet, the weight comes right back on because the body needs to reprotect itself. So it's important to, when you are making a lifestyle adjustment, not just looking at the weight, but looking at getting rid of the things that maybe that weight was protecting.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do this, I'm going to do a detox, and they do it for 5 days, and then they go back to what they were eating. Well, you've just restored everything. So it's kind of a lifetime thing. It's a gradual thing. And so when we talk about the detoxifying organs, you have 4 main detoxifying organs in your system. How do things get out? They get out through your stool. They get out through your skin. So your liver, your lungs, your skin, and your kidneys are your main detoxifying organs. These are the organs that pull things out and get things out. If your liver's not working well, there's actually 2 pathways of the liver has to be in a decent phase to be able to get things out, because it has to dump it somewhere. So it'll dump it, in your stomach a lot of times, in your intestines, and it gets pooped out. But if you're constipated, you're recirculating those toxins. So we have to find out why you have constipation, because then you're just think about it. All that stool just sits in your intestines. If this is your intestine and all that stool's sitting in here, and then it'll get back into your bloodstream. That's how things go back and forth. And so then you're running toxins through your bloodstream. So we got to make sure everything's kind of clean and working well, and your stomach's working well, so we can get everything out of your system. We have to get it out somehow. So we want to make sure all these organs are working well. And if people are starting to have rashes, that's kind of an indication that your liver's overloaded, because it'll go to your liver first. And if it's sluggish there, it'll go to your kidney. If the kidney is overloaded too, that has to come out. The body has to get it out. So then it starts going out through your skin, and that's a lot of times when rashes start developing. That means the system is probably kind of overloaded, and we need to clean up.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but probably one great place for people to start on this is a lot of people don't drink enough water, and your body needs some sort of container to put the toxins in. So just like with good water, you want to pick, personally, I go with spring water that has a high pH, but like whatever calls to you, but pH is definitely could be a whole nother topic in and of itself, but giving it at least a conduit to start to detox and that type of thing. Probiotics to give the intestines what it needs in order to properly detox and that type of thing. And I don't know if there's things specifically for skin and lungs as well, but you can probably talk to that.
Yeah, for skin, infrared saunas are great. I
have one.
You have one?
I call it the turkey tent. Your head just pulls out, and it looks like a little silver tent.
There's various ones, I'm sure. Therasaunas are actually really good, but you have to buy one, and it's kind of a box that you put wherever in your home. But infrared saunas are people are like, well, how about other sauna? Infrared saunas do a very specific thing. They're dry, and so they cause you to sweat and pull things out through your skin. So those are highly recommended, especially in the functional medicine community. I have a detox foot bath that I use. That pulls out about 25% of toxins, and some people just elect to get one at home, because if you can do one at home and you do it, a couple times a week, that's fantastic. You'll be pulling more out. We can't get everything all out in one session.
Yeah.
So,
and Will was just offering too a biomat. That's like a thing you lay on that has amethyst and crystal stings in it that helps to facilitate change.
Yeah, there's so many things. I'm kind of tossing out the more ones that I know of.
Yeah. And biomeds aren't as accessible because they could be kind of pricey, but a thing of supplements that helps could be cheaper. Spring water, that hopefully is in everybody's budget.
That's a great place to start, and I will urge you guys to make sure you're getting good spring water, not in a bottle, because bottles have BPA and all plasticizers and all that kind of thing. If you could just get good spring water, do not drink tap water. I've had so many clients, oh, I drink tap water. Do you know what's in your tap water? Oh my gosh. There's a website, www.ewg.org. You can put in your zip code and it will tell you what is in your water. The water has not been tested. I believe it said for close to 1 or 2 decades already. So they're not keeping a very strong tab on your water. If you look in your city, you will see what's in that water. And so if you're drinking tap water, not only are you ingesting it through your gut, but here's the other catcher with this. People switch and they're like, okay, I'm drinking like Brita now. Like, okay, great. But you have pores, right? So when you're in your shower, you're absorbing all that through your pores as well. And you think about it, if you take a shower daily, how much are you accumulating of chlorine and all these chemicals daily? So I recommend getting a filter, either a whole home filtration system. I like Crystal, it's with a K, Krystal, or there's another one. Things are really leaving my brain today, but Crystal purifiers are good. So they'll come and install a purification system in your home and you don't have to worry about that anymore. Or just install one underneath your sink, or you can get an attachment through
for your shower, they have them.
Yeah, you can get a shower attachment that will filter the water. At best, that's a cheaper route to go if you can't afford to do a whole home filtration system.
Yeah. Basically, do what you can with the budget that you have. And there was an article about chromium-6 being in water supplies, and you can Google on your own. I'm not going to make a claim if our water has it or not. But what they did is they went to like the companies that make the filters. Like Willow was bringing up something like "Don't even try as you, Brita, it does no good." I don't know about just Brita, but they asked the manufacturers, "Hey, does this get chromium-6 out?" And they say, "Oh, it's undetermined." Well, how hard is it to undetermine it? You measure it before, you measure it after. You can see if there's chromium-6 in it. But if you don't know what that is, think of the movie Aaron Brockovich. That was chromium-6. It's extremely carcinogenic. It's used as a lubricant in the water filtration plants. And so like you really get the best quality filter that you can. And if you can't get like the whole house thing, get what you can within your budget. Absolutely start somewhere. And then we had a question from Debbie. Does the detox pads work?
Detox pads. I'm not sure what you mean by, like the ones you put on the bottom of your foot?
Yep, those are the ones she means, I'm pretty sure.
I think it may take out like 5%. I really don't think it's going to take out all that much, honestly. Berkeley has, Berkeley water filters, they have an attachment for your shower, by the way. But I don't know, Hank, if you want to put up that website, it's www.ewg.org, I believe. So everybody can go look in your city.
ewg.org?
www.ewg.org. You can look in your city and see, and it'll say chromium in there, and it'll tell you the amount in your city, 3 times, 10 times the amount, 20 times the amount, and it'll tell you what it's associated with. Like this is a carcinogen associated with cancer, associated with this. It'll tell you.
And really challenge yourself to look, because part of what one of the biggest issues with us as humans here is sometimes when there's an issue, we don't want to look at it. But then once you look at it, now you can start to make choices. But in ignorance, it doesn't mean that if there is an issue that it goes away. So really look to educate and create awareness for yourself, so then you can really choose and respond to what you are aware of in the best possible way for you. And with the detox, the other thing that like the pads may be so effective, like in aromatherapy, we use the bottom of the feet all the time because it's the most absorbent place in the body. And that's one reason why the foot detox things work so well. But there, your whole foot is submerged, and there's a lot more going on because of the way, I think it's ionization. Dr. Kaga could talk to him more. She's the one that offers it. I haven't done it for a long time, even though I have a machine, because I don't have like a good way to do the water stuff. It's always a pain. But that is certainly something. And I've seen like George, who owns Natural Options Aromatherapy, he actually paid someone to come in and they did blood draws during a process of going through it. And they could actually see the numbers improving without any other intentional change to diet or anything like that. So like there's actually some studies and things that show that things improve with that too.
Yeah, so there's multiple ways to detox. And so these are things I recommend, just getting stuff off the plate. What else? You want to just make sure you're removing all the toxins first. So that's the first thing I kind of look at with my clients. Let's look at all the places we can remove things, because there's no sense in detoxing if you're putting it back in. I mean, it's a moot point. So,
Yeah, Mark's here now.
Commented. Well, let's talk about that. I don't know so much about beer, but wine, wine, grapes, heavily pesticided. And I've been drinking wine for years. I mean, I don't drink as much now. I've had nothing in a while. My life is so boring right now with this bodybuilding prep. I'm not allowed to have anything.
Yep.
But
I told Dr. K at the end of it all, I'm going to take her out for lunch and she can binge and she can eat all the things that she hasn't been able to have since she's been on her crunch. And I've been cleansing. I'm on day 23 of a master cleanse. And so we're both going to get through it all.
And Hank looks amazing. I saw we did a healing clinic. I'm like, whoa, it's like a night and day change.
I've lost a lot of weight, way more than you normally lose and let me just speak to that, because I'm going to do a whole stream on the master cleanse. But the one thing is, when you do a cleanse like that, the goal is not to lose weight. Losing weight is a side effect. It is to detox the body, because I've lost like 25 pounds or more now, because my scale ran out of batteries. So I have to get new batteries. So I don't really know where I'm at right now. The last for sure number was like 22 pounds down, and I started a little bit over 200. So it's just been melting off, but it's really about the detoxification of the body and everything. And this is another one that we haven't talked about yet, but Kimmy brings up a great point, that is fluoride something to be avoided. I personally use a fluoride-free toothpaste, and I've been doing that for years, and I've not had a cavity since. And so for me, it's definitely been a good thing, but Dr. K probably knows a little bit more about the toxicity type thing.
Yeah. Kimmy, fluoride is a halogen, so when I look at my device, if halogens and chlorides come up, that falls under that category. So you can Google halogens and see everything that comes up. But yes, fluoride, I've stopped using, and your dentists will tell you, oh, no, don't listen, that's a bunch of BS. It's not. If you look under the functional medicine, the articles are through the roof with it. So don't use fluoride. It actually affects your pineal gland, and your pineal gland is kind of in here. Slice your brain in half. It's kind of in the center. It directs everything in your body. So you definitely, and it gets stored in your system. So it can create brain fog. It blocks your intuition. So definitely get fluoride-free toothpaste, please.
Now, this might totally ruin my day when I ask you this question, but yesterday at our bars clinic, somebody had told me that caffeine calcifies the pineal gland as well. And I will be very sad if this is true, but I'm just curious, have you seen any studies that caffeine itself would have an effect on the pineal gland? I know it affects adrenals and all that, but what about the gland itself?
Let me look on that, because I don't know that for sure. I've not heard that.
I'll take it. I love don't know versus yes, it does. So I'll take it for now.
And Ernie asked, is there organic? I was on the wine piece. Yeah, so I used to drink a ton of wine, and wine is actually very good for you. It has bilberry in it. It has as an extract from the grapes, which is a great antioxidant. Wine is actually very, very good for you. But now the studies are showing the level of toxicity and pesticides on the grapes, which is then moved and pushed in through the wine. Yes, there are organic wines. Dry Farms is an organic brand now. I have not tried them yet because I can't drink right now, but that's probably the next one I'm going to hit. There are organic. Dry Farms wine is one of the ones that's around now. You may want to look into that, but there are organic wines, and there's less sugar in those as well. So don't forget wine.
And no sulfates, right?
Yep. I don't know how it tastes, so I can't tell you that yet. I'll let you know when I'm done with this show prep and I can drink.
That's okay. I've been sober over 12 years, so I'm fine with not knowing. You don't have to tease me.
But yeah, so wine also is sugar. It gets transferred into sugar, and so that builds up a toxicity inside the system as well. But overall, it is good for you. And caffeine is coffee is not bad for you. It has antioxidants. You want to buy an organic coffee. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and with coffee too, there's two ways of decaffeinizing the thing, and there's like one natural way that uses essential oils, and there's one that's a CO2 extract, and I believe the essential oil one is preferred. I don't remember the research as to why, but if you're going to go with the decaffeinated coffee, it's worthwhile to find out how did it get decaffeinated, because one is more of a natural way versus I guess technically they both exist in nature, but just do your research and see which one would feels best for your body.
Yeah. So I don't know where I was going. No,
Sorry.
Train of thought. Poof. But I think that's the getting rid of chemicals and getting rid of deodorants because they have aluminum. I've had heard of a lot of associations with breast cancer with using deodorants. So I have stopped using deodorants with the aluminum in it, the antiperspirant, should I say, let me clarify. You want to buy a deodorant that's like Tom's is a brand that you can get. There's a crystal you can use. So I kind of combine the two. But I've stopped using antiperspirants because of the level of aluminum. Aluminum can cross the blood-brain barrier. There's very few things that can cross. Those are one of those things.
And I kind of did the same. Well, I did do the same thing. I have a deodorant now that is all natural and doesn't have that aluminum stuff in it. Trader Joe's is great. Well, not everybody might have a Trader Joe's by them, but they have a lot of good natural products like that. They have the fluoride-free toothpaste. They have the aluminum-free deodorant, and you could also make your own using essential oils and things. There's different ways that you can make your own deodorants and that type of all that good stuff.
Yeah. So after you start, and people are like, well, I started, it's been a week. I'm like, okay, well, don't forget, you've accumulated stuff in your system. You are now at least taking one thing off the plate of your body in way of toxins. So that's kind of the way it works.
And we're at the top of the hour. We typically close out just about at the hour mark, but I want to make sure that anybody who has a question, if this has stirred up something and is bringing something to mind, please ask questions. You can always ask after the fact too. In the comments, make sure you tag me or Dr. K so that we know the comment was made, because we're streaming to like 8+ places, and it's very easy to not know where a comment is if we don't get tagged. So please tag us if you're commenting on a replay. And I already posted the link. We are on iTunes. We are on iHeartRadio. If you want to take us on the go, you can download the actual audio version and you can listen to all that. But if you have questions, guys, now is the time. This is we love this to be interactive, and you guys have been great today, offering a lot of contributions. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's a big topic. I mean,
it is.
Next, maybe we'll talk about radiation's another thing. Guys, don't sleep with your cell phone next to you and turned on. I know it's tough with people's jobs sometimes if you're on call. I shut mine off. I unplug my internet at night and I replug it in the morning. At least you give yourself a little bit of a break. These are all stresses that radiation has been found to really be affecting people's endocrine systems. That means your thyroid, your pineal gland, your hypothalamus. If you have a lot of like computers and things and all this stuff running in your system or in your home constantly, and you're not literally unplug it. Don't just press the off button, just unplug the whole thing so there's no internet service at night. And you'll see over the course of 2 to 3 weeks, you'll probably start sleeping a little bit better.
Yeah. And we actually did a whole video on like the 3G to 5G or 4G to 5G, whatever it was. I have to wait a little bit for like the Google video to render, but I will add that. You'll see it if you're watching on the replay in one of these sides. You'll see the video for that. I'll link it as like a good video to watch and link to this one. And I'll also put the Becoming Weightless one that we did last week, because that's a great segue too. But it doesn't get added right away. So you're not going to see it right after if you're watching live, but if you look at it later, if you're watching on the replay, you will.
Yeah. So, and just be patient when you're starting to detox. A lot of people are like, well, it's been a week. I haven't lost any weight. I'm like, okay, well, there's a lot more to do. First, number one, you always have to get rid of the things that are causing your condition. That means your stress. That means your radiation. That means all these extras, changing your diet, taking the things off the plate, because trying to detox when you're loading your system with the stuff is challenging. It's like sometimes medications. You have to be off of a medication for sometimes a month to 2 months before, and then detox and pull it out before the body starts to catch up and starts to clean it. You got to give the body time to clean it all out. If you're putting it back in, it's kind of like, well, we got it out for a while and now you're reaccumulating, and so it's a process. So it's not an overnight thing. And yeah, if you have health conditions, doing the master cleanse, please be cautious. Check with your doctor.
I actually discourage people from doing it, because a lot of people just want to do it for the weight, and it's totally not the correct, it's not the right reason. But before doing any of this too, I have a video on my personal page. It's called activating the seat of the soul. It's a thymus energy process. And they say that that is where the body and the being have a communion. Because I've never had a cleanse like this before. I'm waking up at 5 a.m, like doing processing from childhood traumas and all kinds of things popping up for me that I'm working with. So if you're really aligned when you do it, you're not just going to be taking care of the body, you're going to be taking care of the whole being. And maybe when we do a part 2, we'll talk a little bit more about the energetic components and really getting on board, because I've had results like I've never had before in a master cleanse. And I've done a 40-day one, and I'm already having more results than when I did 40 days. So I really believe it's this time. My body knew it was coming. Before, when I did, my body's like, whoa, what's going on? I need to eat. What are you doing? I've had no hunger, nothing. I probably could go without my cleanse juice even. I have that little desire to eat and everything. So it's been amazing.
Okay, great. I think we're at the hour. So
Yep.
Cleansing gives the body a break. It gives the liver a break, because when you keep putting stuff on, the body has to process what you gave it. When you give it a break like this, it can process all the crap that's sitting in there that needs cleaned.
Yeah. And so, guys, a reminder, if you're listening in a replay or watching live, the first and third Monday every month, we do the energy clinic, and you can do it virtually, you can do it in person. So if that you feel that's going to be a contribution to you, take a look. We actually sold out of our spots last time. I think we have half the spots gone for the next one. So if it calls to you, I would recommend signing up earlier. We might end up having to add a second day. And again, you can check out our last episode, being weightless. And right after this, 15 minutes from now, Casey and I are doing, for the first time in months, we're back doing Stir Crazy Shamans. We're going to do it every Friday at 11:15. So if you've missed us, we are going to be there on the Stir Crazy Shaman YouTube channel. So you can check that out for all the Shadamana fun.
Machu Picchu, that's on my bucket list.
Yeah, mine too.
Picture of Machu Picchu.
Maybe we can go. That would be kind of cool. Let's see. Just a couple quick questions. We have Mark just saying, enjoy the weekend. And then a mysterious Facebook user that then clicked the link that we could see who they are. They said, I've noticed a big difference when I switched to a 5G phone. The energy coming from it is so strong, it sucks. So I tilt my phone when I look at it because I feel it so much. And there is like a shungite and a few things. Like if you go look at that other video, I believe we talk a little bit about things that you can do. Dr. K has some products that are available, and you can check those out. I mean, it doesn't eliminate it, but it definitely maybe takes the edge off a little bit.
Yeah, it buffs it. So there are things, little cell protectors you can put on that would help a lot.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. We look forward to next week, and we will catch you next time.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today for the show. Holistic health and healing is part of the Emergence of Being Contributor Network. Visit us at emergenceofbeing.com for all of our contributors' content and to learn about our services and upcoming events.